Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep, perfect.
Awesome. All right. Yep. I just want to thank you guys for joining this. I mean, like I said, I don't think this is going to be very long. I only have about I think 18, 19 slides. Just to kind of give you a background, I did take over this meetup group, this real estate social network. It came up for available and for sale actually, and it's one of those things where I'm about like networking with other people, trying to not trying to pitch somebody, but really trying to help somebody understand this. And I figured if we can develop a like a tight knit group of people where we can 100% trust each other and just not look at one person is trying to sell the other person a course or a seminar or a mentoring program or something like that. I just this is just strictly kind of like basically what I'm doing in my business, right? So hopefully this will help you guys understand owner finance notes a little bit more. um and by far, I've been doing this since 2006. I'm always learning stuff. So if you if I misspeak, or if you know of a better way, please just let me know, and we can go ahead and correct it. But with this, we're going to talk about how to maximize profits on owner finance notes. And a little disclaimer: my attorney wanted me to put this up here, that myself and my company, we're not engaged in rendering any legal, tax, or financial advice or services. I am not a financial planner, nor is LJH Investments a financial planner, broker, or tax advisor. I'm just basically showing you what I'm doing in my business. And it's up to you to do your due diligence on everything and anything that you listen to, or take at face value, right? You always have to do your due diligence on this. So when I was thinking about this, I first start off with kind of like a typical wholesale deal, like how we all got started. I started out wholesaling deals. Rehabbing houses. I was up to rehabbing 5 to 8 houses a month, selling them, offering them under owner finance, owner financing, but primarily lease options and or selling them, right? And so this is like your typical wholesale deal. This is not my house. I found this on Pinterest on a before and after picture, and I've got a link to this person's web page, so that way if they listen to this some point in the future, yeah, I'm giving them credit for this image. So this is a before picture. And like I said, by far, I have no affiliations with this person. I just use this picture to show like a before and after picture. And I was trying to find some before and after pictures of all the properties that I've done, and I only have a lot of after pictures. So like I said, I scoured the internet and I found this. But your typical Mayo, your MAO, maximum allowable offer, it's ARV times. I've seen it ranges from 60% all the way up to 80%, depending on the market that you're in, depending whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market. And then you minus your repairs and you minus your wholesaling fee, right? Things that I've seen just with my experience with doing properties under about 50, $70,000, the Mayo formula does not work. You have to figure in your profit and your holding costs, and go from there. And so once again, just to recap, the Mayo is the after, and I'm just using 65% in this example. So AR, and typically when I was rehabbing these homes, I would actually use 60%. And because I was getting really picky on the properties that I wanted, and a lot of my offers didn't get accepted because I was offering way too less, and I was fine with that because I wanted to make a bigger return. But in this particular example, ARV. So if you have an ARV of 115,000, assume your repairs are 20,000. So before your wholesaling fee, you're into it. Your price would be what the investor would buy, right? Is what I would typically buy, $54,750. And then if you wanted to make a 10,000, I was going to say 10%, a $10,000 wholesale fee, then your maximum allowable offer should be roughly about $44,750. Right now, typically what I would do, that would be my maximum allowable offer. I would start off at like $41,000, $40,000, maybe even a little bit lower, because if you start off at your nut, you can't go up any higher, right? I always start out low and then I adjust to see if I can get it for lower, because I'm always trying to get things as low as possible. But this is your typical wholesale deal, right? So what I'm saying is, with the purpose of this owner finance note, I really believe you're leaving money on the table, and I'll kind of get to that on why I think you're leaving money on the table. But first, let's talk about a typical owner finance note on this house that was just, they put the $20,000 into this property and they fixed it up. Now, once again, these pictures, these before and after pictures, I have no affiliation with them. These are just pictures that I found on the internet, and I gave in the resource section. I'm giving them credit where I found them. And just assume you put $20,000 into this. Now, with wholesaling, you typically you just wholesale it and you move on, right? With the owner financing, you will have to purchase the property and you will have to rehab the property. And I can hear a lot of people saying, "Well, yeah, that's great if you have the money." And I'm telling you, finding private money is easy, especially when you have a deal for somebody and you run those numbers by that lender, that potential lender, or those potential partners, and they can see that you actually did your due diligence, where you pulled the comps, you pulled the appraisals, you had several contractors go through it and give you a buttoned up list on, here's what it's going to cost, here's what we're going to make, and and this is how long it's going to be on the market, right? So if you go into it with that and have your I's dotted and your T's crossed, you will 100% find private money all day long, every day. And I guess a thought just came to my mind. Maybe I can do a training or a webinar or something on how to find private money, because I've been using private money since 2006, when I started out rehabbing houses. Got into when I bought my 10th house, I went to a savings and loan, and they said, we can't fund you. And that was kind of an eye opener. And ever since that point, I've been using private money ever since. Hang on a second, I just got a question. Oh, Jovan, yes, yeah. And so it's 100% easy to find, and I can definitely do another training on this for you guys if you want. Oh, cool. Yep, I could do that. And okay, so if we do a typical owner finance deal, sales price is going to be 115,000. Minimum that you want to get is 10% on these owner finance deals. Really, the more you get down, the better. But for me, a minimum is 10%. The finance amount that you're going to finance is 103,500. Interest rate, usually when I do owner finance notes, I'm anywhere between 7 to about 11%. Some cases 12, and that's where. And just a little side note, you have to check with your state laws for usury laws, and that's where a mortgage broker, a residential mortgage loan officer, originator, is going to help you with all this. And that's one of the things with me buying these notes. Just please, whenever you do an owner finance deal, do not draw up the paperwork yourself. Do not qualify the borrowers yourself. Please go to a residential mortgage loan originator, and they will 100% help you with everything. They will make sure that the borrower qualifies, or that the income ratio is in check. So they do a credit check. You can 100% do the background check on them. I do background checks on every single person that does owner financing, but I have an RMLO that does all the origination for me. So that way I make sure I'm Dodd-Frank compliant, and I just want to make 100% sure that all my bases are covered. So if something happens 3, 5, 10 years down the road, they can't come back to me and just say, Larry, this was a kitchen table closing, and you had no idea how to really qualify somebody, and thus getting sued over it. That's why I always make sure I originate this with an RMLO. Okay, so just to recap, sales price 115,000, down payment 11,500. Loan, you're going to finance them 103,500 at 9% for 360 months, and their monthly payment is going to be $832.78. That doesn't include taxes and insurance. This is principal and interest only. So the question you may be thinking, well, that's great, but how do I get cashed out? How do I get my money? Well, before talking about the slides, right now as a wholesaler, right, what you can do is you can just assign that contract for $10,000 and just be done with it. Or what I'm saying is you just take it a little bit further, find private money. Like I said, it's easy to do. Find private money, fix it, buy it, fix it, and then you can either sell it and then be done with it. Or what I'm proposing to you is this is where you're going to make more money in the long run. You can either sell a slice of the pie or you can sell the entire pie. Meaning you can sell a partial of the note or you can sell the entire note. And so, you guys may be thinking, well, what is a partial? Well, basically, a partial is basically an investor just buys a portion of the existing loan, and then the original lender retains the ownership of the remaining portion of the note. So I just have a real basic example, no numbers here. Out of this 360 slice pie, I'm buying 36 slices of this pie. So the borrower will make payments to me for the next 36 payments, and then on the 37th payment, it will revert back to the owner. On the 37th payment, it'll revert back to the seller of that note. So the seller will now, instead of making payments, the borrower, instead of the borrower making payments to me, it'll revert back to the seller. And by doing this, you can 100% maximize your money on these deals. And so just to kind of give you, and what I did was I just took a little screenshot of an amortization schedule just to kind of show you with these notes and how everything is pretty much like front loaded with interest. For example, this loan, if we're going to do a 30-year loan, 360-month payment at 9%, we're going to finance them 103,500. Our payments are $832.78. You can see that for the first 12 to 15 years, there's this sweet spot of about 12 to 15 years where it's called the I think it's like the law of diminishing return, basically, where after about 12 to 15 years, the interest rate is going to start, flipping, where it's going to be when you hit that 12, 13, 14-year mark, you're going to start paying more principal than interest. That's why a lot of these banks, they'll, when they make these loans, they'll let you go, 5, 10 years, and then all of a sudden, you'll start getting hit up with a lot of calls and pamphlets and brochures or postcards saying, hey, once you guys come in and refinance your loan, we have a special, blah 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 blah, because they know they're going to make a boatload of money on the first half of this loan. So that's why they're always trying to get you in, and that's the power of these notes. They're all front loaded with interest, and when you sell these things, with that in mind, you can 100% make a boatload more money than what you're making now. So you may be asking yourself, why would somebody sell a partial? Well, maybe the seller needs to pay for college. Maybe the seller wants a new car, or maybe the seller just wants to gamble in Vegas. I've had all different kinds of situations where people just, I had one where the seller needed to put braces on their daughter's teeth, and it was roughly going to cost about $18,000 for the braces that she needed. Or maybe what I'm proposing is maybe this is just a better way to make more money as a wholesaler. And what I'll do is I'll just illustrate that a little bit more with this timeline. So if you sell a partial, remember, we're financing this at 103,500, 9% for 360 months at $832.78. There's no taxes and insurance in this. This is just principal and interest only payments. So what I like as a note buyer, I like a bare minimum of 6 payments to be made. So that means 6 months. You unfortunately you would have to wait. There are other note investors out there that will buy them as soon as they're originated, right? There are others that they want to see 1 month, 3 months. I like to see a bare minimum of 6 months. Seasoning, and when I say seasoning, I don't mean like the salt and pepper. I mean 6 months go by and they made these payments without any issues. And then at this time, 6 months later, this unpaid principal balance would be $103,154.37. So what I would do is I would offer you 70,600 or $70,063 for that note. And so you may be asking, how in the hell did you come up with that price? Well, if you remember back to when I first started these slides, you're buying this property for $44,750, $20,000 in repairs. You're into it for $64,750, right? So this isn't including the down payment yet. So you're into this thing for $64,750. So what I figured is, and then what you can do is you get better when you start originating these notes. You can work with a note buyer, work with an RMLO. They'll help you with these numbers on the nut that you need to basically crack. And so I came up with a value of 70,000, and then when I punched in 70,000 into my calculator, the payments came out to $184 and I think like .52, like a fraction. Actually, let me do this. Hang on a second. Let me move my calculator over here. Let's do this. I'll do it for you right here. So 103,500. So that way you kind of you get an idea of what I'm thinking, right? So 360, 9%. There's your payment, $832.78. So 360 minus 6 payments have gone by. So 354 payments are still outstanding. And I want to make a 12% return on my money. So that means, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, I messed it up. Give me a second. 360, 9, and then 1035. And then there's your payments. So 360 minus 6 months payments, 354. And so I want to make a minimum of 12% return on my money. And let's just say I wanted to give you $70,000, right? To cover this $44,750 plus the $20,000 plus roughly about $5,000 to boot. And so, oh, that guy there, dang it, 70,000. So that's giving me a payment of 184.52. And I figured, I don't like fractions, so I just figured 185, right? I just rounded it up. And so that gave me the $70,663.10. So and that's how I came up with that number. Oh, hang on a second. Let me get back to this. So 6 months from now, you would profit $16,813, and you may be thinking, well, yeah, I got to wait 6 months versus just wholesaling it and just be done with it. And you can. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I say you're leaving money on the table, you're totally neglecting this 169 payments that are still outstanding to you. So when you sell these 185 payments to me for the next 185 payments, 15 years. Now, these numbers are large. I just picked these numbers out of thin air. I wasn't trying to make them small or anything. You can sometimes they work out to 3 years, 6 years, 8 years. This particular example, it worked out to 15 years that I'm buying, and then roughly about 14 years remaining. So for the next 15 years, you do not get any payments at all, but you made the $16,813 right off the bat, right? Because you also have to factor in the $11,500 down payment that you got. But you also have to factor in that you still have a remaining 169 payments still due you and that has an unpaid principal balance of $79,629. But here's the really cool thing about it. If you let these payments go for the next 160 months, like after the 185 payments elapse, and then you get this note back for the next 169 payments, and if they make every payment, the 169 payments, 185, 186, 187, all the way up to 360, you will make $61,102 plus the $79,629. You would make $140,739 in addition to the $16,813. So your profit initially within the first 6 months would be $16,813. But overall, in the course of the loan, 360 payments, you would make $157,552 on this loan. And the really cool thing about it is, and if you think about it, you've already got your money back right here. I mean, this is all gravy. I mean, just think about if you set up 10, 15, 20 of these things now, 30 years from now, I'm not saying that they're all going to pop 30 years. Things happen. People do go into default. That's why you use an RMLO to really help qualify the borrowers. Look at the credit, look at the pay history. So without a not without I was going to say without a shadow of a doubt, but you don't know that, but you know for certain that this person is pretty good credit and they're going to make their payments. And so if you let this payment go 360 months, like I said, you will make a total of $157,552. That's if I bought it like at 12%. In the next slide, I'll show you some other yields that'll actually bump these values up. And a lot of people, they just think about the quick nut, like that $10,000 and that fast nickel. I always hear that term, fast nickel beats a slow dime. But I look at this as the long game. This is truly wealth building strategy right here. It's you can make a quick $10,000 and move on to the next one, but you really need to start thinking about generating wealth, long-term wealth for you. And then like I was saying before, if you had 10, 15, 20, 30 of these things, where you set these things up and you have these residual payments come in. And then here's the other cool thing is what happens if you didn't want to wait for the 169 payment to come in. 185 payments came in, you started collecting the next 10 payments, and you go, something came up and I need an extra $20,000. You can sell another partial, or you can sell these remaining payments and just totally be done with it. So if you look at this little chart that I put together, the partial yield versus profit, I'm usually at about a 12% return on these new notes. I like things when I'm buying non-performing notes, I like 15% or greater. But these newly originated notes, I can go down to 12% because it's front loaded with interest and I can still make a pretty good profit, especially with the private money that I'm using. I either use my money or I use private money to buy these notes. So if I was to buy this, if I offered you 12% interest, you would make initial $16,813 6 months from now. But if this whole thing went to term, you would make $157,552. If somebody offered you 11% interest, you would make $20,804 6 months from now. Once again, this column right here is 6 months of seasoning. So they've made 6 months payment history. You would make $161,543. But if you found somebody at 10%, you would make 6 months from now $25,158. Total, you would make $165,897. So this is like I said, this is truly wealth building strategy here. And then, there are some people out there that will pay par for this. Meaning they'll give you 9% or 9.5%. It's a 9% loan. They'll give you 9.5%. Meaning you would make more money on this. Or the second strategy that you could do is you can just sell the entire note and just 100% be done with it. Once again, you have the 6 months worth of seasoning, unpaid principal balance of $103,154. There's 354 payments remaining. Once again, I want a 12% yield on my money. So I'm going to offer you $80,819.40. So your profit would be $27,569 and some change. So basically, in order to get that 27, you would back out the 80,000 that I gave you, backed out your purchase price, backed out your repairs, plus the down payment. That gave you a purchase price of 27,569. But when you look at the entire note versus the yield versus profit, 12% versus 10 versus 11, you can see within 6 months your 10% your $10,000 wholesaling fee jumped to 27,000, jumped to $34,000 if you found somebody to pay 11% on on the note, or if you found somebody to pay you at 10%, $41,389. So, and then and with this entire note, there's no partials. You're selling this entire pie. You wipe your hands to it. You're done with it. If the borrower defaults on this mortgage, that is no longer your problem. It's no longer your worry. That's the new note holders issue, and that's why, once again, that's why it's crucial when you're doing these owner finance notes. That's why it's crucial to have these RMLOs do these loans for you. And so, just some owner financing tips, like I kept hitting home. Please have it originated by a residential mortgage loan officer. In my opinion, you should not be qualifying the borrower for financing. You can 100% look at their debt to income ratio. You can 100% have them fill out a credit app. You can do a background check on them, and to see what kind of person they are. And but you should not be qualifying them for this loan. You should have a mortgage loan originator do this for you. Collect at least 10% or greater of what, like I kept talking about. Always look at your credit score. Your RMLO can help you with this. I like to see 6 months or greater of seasoning. In other words, 6 months of on-time payments. There are people, other note buyers out there that'll buy it as soon as it's originated. That's not me. I want a minimum of 6 months. I know other note buyers out there, they want 12 months worth of seasoning. So it ranges. For me personally, like I said, I like 6 months of seasoning. I like a credit score of 620 or better. Minimums 10%, but I will say this: the more money they have to put down, the less their credit does come into play, but the less I'm worrying about it. If they're going to put down 50%, on a $200,000 loan, if they're putting $100,000 down, I will 100% work with the person with their credit. That when they're putting that kind of money down. Let's see. One thing that I can tell you is create a mortgage or a deed of trust, depending on what state that you're in. I would not create a contract for deed. With the contract for deeds, they stay in your company's name, and so there are issues with that. So, if something is levied against the property, that attaches to you, your company. Whenever I can, I try to get them to convert it from a contract. I do buy contract for deeds, and I do have contract for deeds. But when I buy a non-performing contract for deed, I get it performing, and then I convert it into a mortgage. I just recently did this one on a property down in South Carolina. It was a non-performing contract for deed, made payments for a year, did a trial payment plan with me, and then reached out to an attorney. The attorney worked with a mortgage loan originator, got everything squared away with him, and we converted this into a mortgage. So now this thing is 100% out of my company's name. It's a mortgage. So the borrower's name goes on the deed. My name is off the deed, and whenever you can. It just makes the asset more valuable. So when it's a mortgage or a deed of trust, you can demand a little bit more money. What, like I was just saying, it makes it more valuable. Always escrow your taxes and insurance. Do not rely on the borrower to make them because it always seems like I'm always chasing people down. I always check taxes once a quarter to make sure that even on the mortgage ones, right? I'm always checking just to make sure that the taxes are paid, and then also the insurance. Um, Always, in my opinion, it once again it makes that asset a little bit more valuable when those payments are escrowed. Always get title insurance. Always do an appraisal um, when you originate this thing, because if you plan on selling this 6 months from now, I've seen it where I've had people reach out to me where they just originated the note, and it's just kind of sketchy. That no appraisals, no title insurance, and it just seems, and then no RMLO. The big thing for me is a no RMLO on these newly originated notes. That's not to say, like I was originally talking about, like these contract for deeds. If they've been paying for years, when I say years, 5, 6 years, I'll 100% buy those all day, every day, right? So they have a track history of buying and paying for this. But I do not like these newly originated notes without these appraisals and all these other things. And don't be in a rush to sell. Do it right from the start, and you will 100% set yourself up for continual cash flow for years to come. And then here are the resources. That's the Pinterest link that I found those pictures. And then I actually just wrote an article. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, Lawrence J. Hoffman Jr., you can see the article on partials. I actually posted that article there, so that way you guys can get to it if you want to read it. And that's it. That's all I got. I don't know if there are any questions regarding this. I don't think I have any questions.
I don't have anything either there.
So did that make sense on a lot of the things, or?
Yeah, I
I
get
had a
it. Sounds good.
question.
Who's
Have you ever done like a hypothecated notes, like use the note as collateral to get a loan against your loan?
say that again?
I was just going to ask you if you'd ever done like a hypothecate a loan.
Yeah, with the collateral.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've never done that. It's one of those things where it's kind of like that substitution of collateral and all that other stuff. When you're buying owner finance, when you're doing owner financing, I don't know. I just tend to I like the simpler things, and it's like the simpler for me, the better. I do know other note buyers that do the hypothecation, and I've just never done it. I've had opportunities to do it, but I just honestly I just choose not to do it. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, shoot, man, I think I must have done a pretty bang up job.
It was good.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, hey, if you have any questions, please feel free. You can call me on my cell. Really, I think the best way to get a hold of me is talkwithlarryhoffman.com. It'll just take you to a Calendarly link. That way you can schedule a 30-minute call with me, and if you're looking to do some type of owner financing, please, give me a call. And I'll turn my video back on. And just give me a call, and we can just talk, and I'll just tell you my idea of walking through it, kind of like what I'm looking for. If you're truly looking to utilize this strategy, and I'll tell you what I'm looking for and how to structure it. And then now, once again, you would have to wait that 6 months, because I want that 6 months worth of seasoning. to make sure that they're going to pay on time. And then, once we sign a contract, though, it's locked in, and I will commit to it.